Hello and welcome. Today we are going to talk about adjectives, comparative adjectives, superlative adjectives, and how to describe things using what is something like, or how to describe people by saying what is someone like. We'll also talk about synonyms. So are you ready? Let's get to it. Okay, so today we are going to talk about what is and like. We use this, what is and like, to ask about a description, okay, or to ask about someone, about their behavior, or about a place. Let's put it in context to see what it means. If I say, for example, what's her new house like? What's her new house like? What is her new house like? It means describe it to me. Is it nice? Is it is it old? Is it modern? What is it like? We're asking for a description of the house. If I say, for example, what is he like? What is he like? It means describe him to me. Is he nice? Is he not nice? Is he friendly? Is he just describe someone to me in general. So we use what is, and then we insert what we want to inquire about, and then we end it with like. So this is the proper way of using it. Let's take a look at this conversation. What's your new house like? It's a modern one, quite big, with a nice garden. What's your new teacher like? Ooh, that's not a highlight. Hold on, let me just change the tool. All right, what's your new teacher like? He's nice, he's very good looking, but he's quite strict. I'm not very strict. What's your teacher like? He's got blonde hair and blue eyes. They're not talking about me. All right, so what's like is if you want a description. Now, let's spot the mistakes. The following descriptions, they have mistakes. In the following sentences are mistakes. What is a mistake? And let's correct them. Let's take a look at number one. What's London like? I like it very much. What do you think? Right or wrong? This one is, let's go to green, and this one is correct. What's your school like? It's like nice. What do you think? What's your school like? It's like nice. No, this is wrong. The correct answer here will be, if somebody asks me, what's your school like? You'll be like, oh, it's a big school, it's a small school, it's a great school, it's a bad school, whatever you want, but you have to give a description. You don't repeat like, you don't like it's like nice, you just say it's nice. Because you repeated like, that made it wrong. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. What does Maria like? She's tall with long blonde hair. I think I'd like to meet Maria. I'm just kidding. All right, let's see. What does Maria like? She's tall with long blonde hair. What do you think? Correct or wrong? Of course it's wrong. Maria is short. Nah. It's wrong because the question is different here. What does Maria like? Not what is Maria like. Don't get them confused. What does Maria like? It means just what does she favor? What does she like? She likes tomatoes. She likes swimming. What does she like? What are her interests? We didn't say what is Maria like, so don't be confused between the two. If I say what is Maria like, and then you said she's tall with long blonde hair, then it would be correct. But here I didn't say that. I said what does Maria like? She likes cooking. Maria likes her husband. All right, let's take a look at next one. Number 4. He's more older than he looks. What do you think? He's more older than he looks. Okay, now this is wrong. Why is this wrong? Because, okay, this is If you remember last course, we talked about comparative adjective and superlative adjectives. We said if it's a one syllable, we add ER. If it's more than one syllable, then we use more or most, right? Now, we don't do both. We don't add ER and use more. That's just wrong. Okay, so here will be, he's older than he looks. We wouldn't say more. Okay, first of all, old, that's a one syllable word. Old, one syllable. So we'll say he's older than he looks. We wouldn't say more in the first place. And we wouldn't use both of them, older and more, in the same sentence. So this is wrong. Now let's take a look at number 5. Jessica as tall than her mother. Jessica's as tall than her mother. Again, this one is wrong. Here we're comparing Jessica to her mother. So Jessica is as tall as her mother, or we can say Jessica is taller than her mother, but we cannot say Jessica as tall than her mother. All right, let's take a look at the next one. London is more expensive than Paris. Again, this one is wrong because it's than Paris. We're comparing London to Paris. We say London is more expensive than Paris. And notice here, because we have more, that means the adjective has more than one syllable. Let's count. Expensive, that's 3 syllables. Expensive, 3 syllables. That's why we use more. We cannot say expensiver. We have to use more expensive. And we definitely cannot say more expensiver. Number 7, who is the most rich man in the world? Again, this is wrong because who is the most rich? No. Rich is one syllable. Who is the richest man in the world? One syllable. We don't use more and most for one syllable adjectives. All right. Last one. Claridge's is more expensive. Claridge's is the more expensive hotel in town. Again, this is wrong because here we have to say the most expensive. Here we have to use the superlative and not the comparative. All right, now let's take a look at comparative and superlative. We covered this before, but this is a revision. So we use comparative adjective to show change or make comparisons, okay? So we not only use the comparative adjectives to compare things, but also to show that there is a change, all right? Let's take a look at some examples. This car is certainly better, but it's much more expensive. This car is certainly better, but is much more expensive. I am feeling happier now. I am feeling happier now. We need a bigger garden. We need a bigger garden. So we're not comparing two gardens. We're just saying we need a bigger garden than the one we have now. We use then. We want to compare one thing with another, okay? So if we're comparing two things and we want to compare this to this, we use than. She is 2 years older than me. She is 2 years older than me. New York is much bigger than Boston. New York is much bigger than Boston. He's a better player than Ronaldo. He is a better player than Ronaldo. France is a bigger country than Britain. France is a bigger country than Britain. Okay, now when we want to describe how something or someone changes, we can use two comparatives. Okay, and we use and. So if you want to say how something changes, we use two comparatives and we use and. For example, the balloon got bigger and bigger. The balloon got bigger and bigger. So we use two comparatives with and. Everything is getting more and more expensive. Everything is getting more and more expensive. Grandfather is looking older and older. Now, we often use the with the comparative adjective to show that one thing depends on the other. Okay? Normally, the is used with the superlative adjective, but we also can use it in the comparative adjective to show that one thing depends on the other one. Let's take a look. The faster you drive, the more dangerous it is. The faster you drive, the more dangerous it is. Okay, so the danger level depends on the speed. So when you drive faster, it is more dangerous. The higher they climbed, the colder it got. The higher they climbed, the colder it got. You know, the more you climb, or the more the furthermore you are from the ground, the colder it gets. Okay, now let's talk about superlative adjectives. We use the with the superlative adjectives. Okay, we said with the comparative adjectives we only use, to show that one thing and another thing are dependent on each other, but or there is a relation. But for superlative adjectives, you always use the. We always use the. Like, this was the happiest day of my life. Everest is the highest mountain in the world. That's the best film I've seen this year. I have 3 sisters. Jan is the oldest. Angela is the youngest. So with superlative adjectives, we always use the. Now, how to form a comparative and a superlative adjectives? As we said, one-syllable words, we just add er. Old, older, and with the superlative, we add est. Old, older, oldest. Long, longer, longest. Young, younger, youngest, and so on. If the adjective ends in e, we just add an r in the case of the comparative, and we add an st in case of the superlative. Like nice, we just add r, nicer, nicest. Large, larger, largest. If the adjectives end in a vowel and a consonant, we double the consonant. Like big, bigger, fat, fatter, or fattest. Big, bigger, biggest. Okay, this also applies always when it's a vowel and a consonant at the end of the road. We always double the last letter. We always double the consonant, even if we're making a simple past. Like, for example, stop, S-T-O-P, O-P, vowel plus consonant, we always double the last letter, or we double the consonant, which is the P. Stopped, it's S-T-O-P-P-E-D. So this rule is fixed. When you have the last letter, it's a vowel, and the last letter is a consonant. Following a vowel, then we double the last letter, or we double the vowel. Whether we're making, a past form, whether we're making a comparative form of the word. If the adjective ends in a consonant and a y, what we do is we remove the y and we replace it with an I. And then if we are making a comparative, we add er, so it will be IER. Or if it's a superlative, then we will add st, so it will be IEST. So let's take a look. If we have, for example, silly. Silly. So as you can see, the last two letters are L and Y. That's a consonant and a Y. Then this will become sillier, sillier, I-E-R, or silliest, I-E-S-T. Now, keep in mind that these rules apply not only for comparative, but for all words in general. If you have a word that ends in a consonant and a Y, you remove the Y and you replace it with an I. Okay, whether that word is a comparative adjective, you will put IER. Whether it's a superlative adjective, you still remove the Y, replace it with an I, and then you put EST. Or if it's, for example, a word that you want to make plural, like for example, pony, you will remove the I and we put IES, ponies. So this rule applies to all words. If you have a consonant and a Y, you remove the Y and you put an I. Just like the rule from before. Okay, now we use more and most to make comparative and superlative for most of the two-syllable adjectives, and for all adjectives with 3 or more syllables. However, there is an exception. Okay, two-syllable adjectives can, okay, so we will take a look at this table below. The adjectives here, the adjectives in this table, we can use either ER, EST, or we can use more and most for both, for these adjectives. Okay, and those are all two-syllable adjectives. Okay, let's count. Common, common, 2 syllables. Cruel, cruel. Gentle, gentle. Handsome, handsome. Likely, narrow. Pleasant, polite. All are 2-syllable adjectives. We can either, for those ones, those are exceptions. We can add ER, or we can use more and most. Okay, so let's take a look. Common, commoner, commonest. Or we can say common, more common, the most common. Cruel, crueler, cruelest. Or we can say more cruel, the most cruel. Although with the cruel, crueler and cruelest is more common in usage. Gentle, gentler, gentlest, or more gentle, most gentle. Handsome, handsomer, handsomest, or more handsome, or the most handsome. With this one, nobody says handsomer anymore. They used to, but now we just say more handsome. Likely, likelier, likeliest, or more likely, or most likely. Narrow, narrower, narrowest, more narrow, most narrow, and so on for the rest of them. So these are exceptions. There are 2-syllable adjectives, but we can use ER, EST, or we can use more and most. Both are correct. Okay. Let's take a look. How to form comparative. Okay. These are just, we're using these adjectives in sentences. He is certainly handsomer than his brother, or his brother is handsome, but he is more handsome. Okay, so let's take a look at these ones, good, bad, and far. Okay, good, bad, and far are irregular adjectives that don't follow the pattern, so we need to learn them as they are. So the comparative form is good is better and best. The comparative form is better, the superlative form is best. So good, better, best. Bad, worse, worst. Far, farther, farthest. Far, farther, farthest. So those are irregular adjectives. Irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. All right. Now, if I say as something as, what does that mean? As something as. We took this in the questions that we corrected earlier. Sorry, not questions, the statements that we corrected earlier. Now, if I say as adjective or adverb as, is we use it when we are making a comparison, when things are of equal value. Okay, let's take a look. The world's biggest bull is as big as a small elephant. So here we're comparing the world's biggest bull to the small elephant, and we're saying as big as. It means both of relatively the same size. The world's biggest bull or the world's smallest elephants, they are relatively same size. So we use as, adjective, or adverb as, okay, which is this rule right here. Let me highlight it for you. No, what am I doing? All right, hold on, this is not right. Oh, okay. So as, adjective, adverb, as. This is the rule. Comparing both, okay, let's take a look at the next example. The weather this summer is as bad as last year. It hasn't stopped raining for a week. It means this summer, this year is bad, last year was bad, they're just as bad or equally bad. You have to unwrap it as carefully as you can. Okay, you have to unwrap it. In this case here, we use an adverb. You have to unwrap it as carefully as you can. It's quite fragile. Not as. Okay, so in this case, we will take not as, adjective, adverb, as. This is to make comparison between things that are not equal. So it's the opposite of this one. Here we're making a comparison between things that are not equal. We say not as, adjective, adverb, as. So let's take a look. It's not as heavy as I actually thought it would be. It's not as heavy as I actually thought it would be. It means I thought it would be heavy, but it's not. It's not heavy at all. Ronnie hasn't grown as tall as Tommy yet. Ronnie hasn't grown as tall as Tommy yet. She's not singing as loudly as she can. It means she can sing louder, but she's not. They didn't play as well as they usually do. They can, okay, so we can modify not as and as by using quiet or nearly. Okay, this is just to modify the adverb. So we can say she's not singing as loudly as she can, or we can say she's not singing as quiet loudly as she can. They didn't play as well as they can, or not as quite well as they can. Okay. Let's take a look at some examples. These new shoes are not nearly as comfortable as my old shoes. These new shoes are not nearly as comfortable as my old shoes. What does that mean? It means my old shoes are more comfortable. Way more comfortable. These ones are not comfortable. We can also use not so as less common than not as. Okay, what does that mean? The cycling was good, but not so hard as the cross-country skiing we did. So the cycling was good, but it's not as hard, but not so hard as. So here we replace the as with the so. So instead of saying not as hard as, we said not so hard as. They still mean the same thing, just variations. All right, now let's take a look at synonyms. What is a synonym? A synonym is a word that means the same meaning or nearly the same meaning but using different vocabulary. Okay, like for example, smart, clever. There's a synonym. Smart, clever, intelligent, astute, those are all words that means smart. Those are called synonyms. All right, tiny, small, wealthy, rich, good looking, handsome, big, large, huge, enormous, those are all synonyms. New, modern, old, ancient, cold, chilly, cool, freezing. silly, stupid, awful, terrible. All right, so synonyms are they're very good to increase your vocabularies, and especially if you're doing like oral tests, like speaking tests in English, or if you're interviewing in English, it's good to know synonyms because you don't want to repeat the same words or keep using the same words again and again. So that's why you need synonyms. And that will do it for today. Until next time, and have a good one.